Okay, I know I dated a narcissist and I want to tell you about it so you don't fall into the same trap or into the same thing, right? So first of all, like, I never knew, this is a video I did not want to make today, but it was heavy on my heart and I wanted to talk about it. And especially like me, because like I can point out a sneaky snake like a mile away, you know? And I'm gonna tell you how this all got started. So in the beginning, right, met this guy, not a boyfriend, just going on dates and stuff like that.
I just wish I knew how to avoid a narcissist from the beginning, you know? Yeah, that can be so tough. Feels like we're gonna need the old clipboard for this one. You're still doing the clipboard bit, huh? First question, did you ever hear them say the words, "I'm sorry"? No. I mean, I heard, "Well, I'm sorry you took it that way," or "I'm sorry, but I wouldn't have done that if you would have just listened." Okay, but not, "I'm sorry for the way my behavior impacted you, tell me more about how you're feeling." No, a narcissist would never say that. Always the victim, right? Exactly. Okay. Would you describe them as consistently kind? Only in the beginning, sure. Did they ever ask or care about your boundaries? No, they walked all over them. Right. Did their actions match their words? Definitely not. Were they genuinely curious about your inner world, how you felt safe, loved, and valued? Were they vulnerable, or did you later realize that you were the only one opening up and sharing? I guess it was just me. Yeah. Do you feel like they rushed into things in the beginning, like they love bombed you? Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like they had the ability or desire to understand your experience and what you were feeling? No, a narcissist doesn't care about any of that stuff. Of course not. All right, well, here's our list. Kind, consistent, has the ability to repair and apologize, honors your boundaries, isn't rushing the relationship, doesn't call you names, and is curious and empathetic about your feelings and needs. What is all that? It's green flags that you need to see in the next partner you date in order to avoid a narcissist. Huh. You know, sometimes I wonder, maybe they're not master manipulators. Maybe we just need to remember that it's not too needy to want the same consistency and reciprocation and kindness and respect that we so generously give to others.
And I met this guy, very charismatic, which to me, what I like about a person is how outgoing they are. Like, the more outgoing of a personality, the more, like, I'm just like, oh, I love that. Because I just, boring people bore me, right? Some people like boring people, like, that's okay. You know, they live and function, do their own thing. But, like, I love someone who is just, like, very outgoing and just charismatic, right? So I met this guy, was that, right? I would say love bombing was done to me, but not like the typical love bombing with like gifts. It was like love bombing with like attention. That's kind of like what I felt, right? But what I found interesting about the whole thing is like the constant messaging, right? The text messaging. So to me, I felt, which is so weird because I don't text people regularly. I don't text people every day, right? I found myself texting this person every day because they texted me every day. And it was just like minute things that was like, hey, I'm going to the store. Oh, this is what I'm getting. What do you think about this? Like, it was stuff like that, right? And I thought it was very cute, and I just thought it was very cute because I've never dealt with anything like that. I'm like, really? What? Okay, just go to the store, and then when you get back, tell me all about it. But in the moment, they was like letting me know stuff they were doing. Oh, I'm going here next. I just thought it was very cute. So I thought that was neat, but what I found is like the communication style, which should have been like a straight up red flag for me. A communication flaw for me was they only wanted to text, right? They did not like to do FaceTime. They did not like to talk on the phone. They weren't into what they call small talk, right? And I was just like so shook by that because listen, the way you communicate says a lot about you, right? Like, I know you're a red flag when you Instagram call me. Like, who Instagram calls people, okay?
All right, I still have people asking me if they are a narcissist. So let me give you an easy test for this. If you're genuinely willing to even explore the possibility of you being a narcissist, I have good news. You're not a narcissist. If you're actually willing to ask your partner or parent or friend, hey, what's it like to be on the other side of me? Do you feel like I respect people's boundaries? Do I consistently neglect other people's feelings or needs? In your experience, do I only think about myself? Because if you actually care about any of those answers, you're about as far from a narcissist as possible. And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but sometimes I'm mean to my partner, right? Sometimes I say or do things that are outside of who I want to be. And I totally understand that. Here's a question, and I'm not justifying any of those behaviors. Is your partner a jerk? Because I want you to learn how to respond in a more mature and vulnerable way. But from my perspective, 90% of the people who are coming to me asking if they are a narcissist have partners who neglect and dismiss them. Let me guess, you struggle with advocating for your needs and setting boundaries, right? Possibly because they aren't a safe place for you to do that, are they? I mean, let's just think about it. You're willing to take accountability. Are they? You're willing to explore ways that you could repair your conflicts together and feel closer as a couple. Are they? Don't you find it strange that they're labeling you as the problem? when you're the only one looking for a solution?
Like, you know what I'm saying? That feature's there. Like, but why do it? Anyways, or the same thing with like a Snapchat phone call too. Okay. But anyways, so we only communicated via text message, and if it wasn't via text message, it was in person, right? So I would see this person, I would say regularly, and then like I started to notice like a few red flags. I know what you're thinking. I just don't want you guys to fall victim for it, right? So I noticed that if I didn't text back within like 2 days, I would get some type of like explosive, shady like text message back, right? And almost like, I'm not gonna say this happened because it didn't, but I'm gonna give you an example. It's like if you don't text somebody back for 2 days and they're like, oh, I see you posted on Snapchat, but you can't text me back. Oh, I saw you posting on Instagram, but you can't return my text messages. Like, to me, like stuff like that is coming from a place of just like childhood trauma. Like if all you know is if your parents or your upbringing was just like drama and trauma and stuff like that, then that kind of like rolls over into your adulthood, because the correct correspondence should be, hey, just checking up on you, just want to make sure you're doing all right. When you get a chance, text me back. That is a more appropriate, healthy way to communicate, as opposed to, so you're not going to text me back, hanging out with new friends, I see how it is. Like stuff like that, to me, that's like trying to spark an argument or a debate to go back and forth. Like, what do you mean? And you're going back and forth, and the next thing you know, you're caught up in that, you know, and that's what they wanted, is for you to communicate back with them, when all they just could have said is, if you want to talk, let me know. Like, just say that. But people, I notice, like, just, if they're used to chaos, that's what they're going to give you. So when they meet someone who shows that they just love, they're like, what is this? I don't understand this language. This isn't chaos and confusion. And then they're like kind of shook by that, and they revert back to their chaos and confusion, right? Which is then, it's an never ending cycle until they get out of that and they can see, oh, this person's different. This person's showing like actual true loving way of communication. Okay. So I noticed that part. Then I noticed like inconsistencies of stuff like, you know, this is a very hard topic to talk about, right? Because I went through it, and I feel like I still am going through it. But like every now and then, like it would just be like, I'll get some random text, everything will be fine. And then I'll get like a random text message of like this friend or this friend, almost kind of like dividing the friend group, you know, kind of trying to isolate me in some like weird way. Or if they found someone to be somewhat of, maybe they found someone to be like a threat, they would try to like eliminate that person out of my life by saying that they're not a good person, or showing examples, or just trying to be like, you know, this person's shady, they're so young or whatever. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, okay, and maybe part of it was true, right? But at the same time,
hey, it's great to meet you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you too. So I'm a narcissist. Yeah, but you seem so nice. Oh, I'm pretending. Really? Yeah, I figured out if I'm charming and funny and give you lots of attention and affection, then I can get you to fall in love with me. Why do you need me to fall in love with you? Oh, because then you're less likely to leave once I start lying and belittling and gaslighting you and chipping away at your self-worth in order to control and manipulate you. Huh. Yeah, it works especially well if you have a history of trauma where you tend to blame yourself even though you're the one being neglected. That sounds like abuse. Oh, it definitely is. Why would you do that? Oh, I'm deeply insecure. I can see that. Yeah, I have a massively fragile ego and a fear of rejection, so I've created a fantasy world in which I'm the center of the universe and everyone else is inferior. Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you for telling me all this up front before we formed a complicated trauma bond that would have caused me years of misery. Yeah, well, I just want people to know what they're getting into. I mean, you by chance don't struggle with a lack of boundaries and self-esteem issues, do you? I do, actually. Dang it. We probably would have made a great pair. Yeah, I bet. A good thing you showed me these red flags up front so I could protect myself. Well, if there's one thing I am, it's honest and transparent in the beginning.
I just noticed that when I would ask them questions of, so tell me how your last relationship went, right? And they tell me it was like they did nothing wrong. They did everything right. It was all their fault. And I was saying to them, I was like, no, you have to understand that when you have a relationship with somebody and it falls apart, you have to own your side of the street. And you have to at least come to the conclusion that say, you know, maybe, let me take a step back. Maybe if I would have handled it this way, things would have been differently. Like it's that sense of of self-knowing, of getting from this point to a higher level of enlightenment. And I felt like they just couldn't get there at times, right? We'll get to that in a minute too. And I asked them, I was like, so, when you talk about this situation and this situation, do you think you could have handled it better if you would have did this or this? And I was like, no, I feel like I did the right thing because I had said this, and there was just always that. So whatever they said to me, even though to them was valid, what I was looking for was, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe that's something I need to take a step back at, and maybe I didn't handle it the best way. To me, that would have been the proper way to say it. But then I also felt another red flag for me. I always felt like there was like this wall that they were like putting up, right? And I thought to myself, like, if I talk to you about something that I'm going through, that doesn't always mean that you're going to talk to me about what you're going through, because like you might have a wall up, you're not comfortable with me yet to, disclose that type of information, stuff like that, right? So I just kind of felt like, let me just take a step back, and maybe I'm just used to people opening up with me that this person doesn't, and maybe at their own pace, right? But I've always just felt like there was like a wall that was like up, and like I couldn't break down that wall. It was nothing that I was doing. It was like something that they had up. It was like, and I want to sit here and preference that, because I know I'm going to get in the comments like, oh, how dare you label somebody a narcissist? You don't even know, you're not a therapist. Like, this is my journey and my experience. I'm allowed to talk about it.
Oh, thank you. So, we've been going out for a little while. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, everything has been really great. Well, I certainly hope so. I've been love bombing you pretty hard. So I just have a couple questions for you. Uh-oh, should I be scared? Nah, it's just standard questions that expose narcissists. Number 1, name any example of when you were vulnerable or empathetic towards someone. What's that? Number 2, what do you do if someone gives you constructive feedback? Lash out in rage. I mean, listen. I would listen, of course, to their perspective. Number 3, when's the last time you were wrong about anything? Well, that's a tough one because I'm never wrong, so of course not. What steps are you taking to improve your relational dynamics? Relational what now? What responsibility do you personally take for your last relationship ending? None. It was all their fault. I was the victim. I did everything I could, but they just kept taking advantage of my kindness. Who deserves the most praise and admiration in the room? Oh, that's me. That's an easy one. If I told you my insecurities, fears, and vulnerabilities, use them against you. I hadn't finished the question yet. I'm sorry, what? How about if I told you in a vulnerable and respectful way that something you did hurt me, what would you say? Maybe you're just too sensitive. I mean, you probably deserved it. So I understand you being superior to everyone else, but is there anyone that's more important than you? Error. Does not compute. So, how did I do? Are you ready to move in together? No. Check, please. As fast as you can, preferably.
But I also want to clarify that this is not a situation where I'm saying that, like, I know the difference between somebody who is, the proper verbiage I'm looking for is, like, avoidant. Because there's avoidant personality traits or avoidant behaviors, and then there's a narcissist, And they both can intermingle at the same time. But at the same time, like, a narcissist will never admit that they are a narcissist, right? A narcissist will never seek treatment because they know that there's nothing wrong with them. They're never going to get to that level of enlightenment. Though most of the time, therapists are seeing people who are like, hey, I was in a narcissistic relationship and I felt like I was belittled and broken down and I'm trying to get like that, right? So I see that. And then there's different levels of narcissism. Like, I feel like everyone has narcissistic traits to some degree. But like, let's say like this is like level 1 and there's like level 100. I think most people normal would fall like somewhere in here, but then you have some people who are like full blown or up in that gig, but they need to seek that treatment themselves, right? And you never tell a narcissist that they're a narcissist. They're going to blow up. Like they're not going to believe it, right? Again, a narcissist will never admit that they're a narcissist because they don't believe anything's wrong with them. They're grandiose. They think everything's fine. They think they're God's gift to this planet, and just like, everyone should just worship them, and they're just the hottest things in sliced bread, right? Okay. The thing is, like, there's so many fish in the sea. There's so many different, like, hot people in the world. So it doesn't even matter. And you can find beauty in anything. So I noticed that too, like, little grandiosity, just saying that, that they look good and, like, it's easy to, I guess, attract people and stuff like that. And they're such a catch. But I'm just like, well, I see some red flags, but I'm not going to bring it up to anger this person. But how the relationship like developed, I would say, toward the middle and toward where it is now, is I think the narcissist caught on to me. I think the narcissist, I feel like I know. I feel like the narcissist knew, and the avoidant narcissist, let's just say that. The avoidant narcissist knew that you can't get me. In the sense because like I see who you are, like the mask has slipped, right? And so I see right through you. So, and I had some text messages that was like, hey, I would appreciate you if you don't, tell people about me and stuff like that. Like it's stuff like that. I was like, because they know I see it, right? And I can see that they've like moved on to like the next person that they're gonna like draw energy from, if that makes sense, right? And I just can't help but to feel like I navigated it and I saw it from my own eyes. And it's one of those things that you can't sit down and ask somebody like, hey, are you a narcissist? Because they may not, like, they're not gonna say that they are. But you can pick up on these tendencies that they are, right? And for me, it was just the level of not just being forthcoming of past traumas, and just like, there's some people you'll meet and they're just so real. And they're just like, hey, you know what? I've struggled with this in my life. I struggled with that with my life. And this is why I am the way I am because of this and my past behaviors. And I know it's effed up, but I'm working on like that. It was like that would be a real person saying that, right? Or like, let's say they have some type of addiction and they're like, hey, this is how it came about. And they're open with it. And they're letting you know, like, I see that there's a problem. I acknowledge it. And that's half the battle, is knowing that it exists, right? So with this person, I would see things and they just wouldn't, it was like it wasn't clicking with them, right? Then comes the lying. Because I have many things, but I'm not a fool, right? And so I would catch this person in a lie multiple times, and you can't really I could never say like, hey, I know you're lying about this, right? I could say, I don't believe you, I don't believe that, and they would get kind of upset about it. But they just didn't believe. And the reason I couldn't tell them that they were lying, I literally sent this to a friend a few days ago. I sent this. Okay, here it is. It goes like this. It goes, when you know they're lying to you, but you can't say anything because of the way you found out. Like, what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. And so I would find myself like in those situations where I was like, oh, if they only knew, I knew they were lying. But I can't, because the way I found, what I'm saying, of who told me or how it went about. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. So all I can do is just be like, oh, okay, well, I don't necessarily believe that. And then But the thing is, like, I'm a very strong, confident person, to the point that a lot of people that I interact with in life, they say that I'm intimidating to them. And that's because, like, I know who I am. I know my self-worth. Like, I walk into any room and it's literally eyes on me. That's my narcissist showing. But, like, I'm such a big, bold presence, and I do believe, and I walk in faith and believe in Jesus Christ, that some people will even say that you have this anointing around you. And I'm like, thank you for feeling that energy. And I'm very good at reading people's energy. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm an empath or anything like that. No. But what I will say is I have the power of discernment, and I can see through things. I could be like, that is a good person. This person over here is very weak. This person, I can see people taking advantage of. Like, I can see that, right? And in this situation, I think I was like a bit smitten in the beginning, but then I got to peel back the layers, right? And many times I should have just been like, hey, you know what? Wish you the best, much success, but I'm gonna go ahead and remove myself gracefully out of this relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it, right? Because every friendship is a relationship, right? What me and you have is a relationship, maybe a parasocial relationship, but it is a relationship nonetheless. So I was sitting there and I found it quite interesting, right? I found it quite interesting to peel back the layers, and I was like, this is a movie that I kind of want to see how it ends. Like, I want to, like, it's such a bad movie that I want to sit back and watch type vibe. Like, that's the thing I got out of it, right? And one thing about narcissists I've also learned is they can't just end a relationship or friendship on a good note, right? It will never be like, I'm talking to someone, I'm like, hey, you know what? It was really nice knowing you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey, and you be a part of my journey. Thank you for letting me in your life and allowing me in and whatever, vice versa, right? Because that's another thing too. Is like, you have to understand that we allow people to be in our lives. We forget that we have the power to disassociate and be like, I no longer want you in my social circle. I don't want you here anymore. We have that power. So again, to let them know, thank you for allowing me on your journey, and you being part of my journey, and most importantly, thank you for allowing me in your life, because you have to choose who you want to be around you, and thank you for choosing me to be in your life, and vice versa. And ending that relationship on a good note and just saying, you know, how I feel or how maybe you're treating me is not healthy for me, but most importantly, it's not healthy for you. And so with that being said, I just want to thank you, and I want to release the energy, and I just want to move on, and maybe we can circle back in a couple years or months or something, but I need this for me. I need to set this boundary, and I want to like move on a positive note. There's no drama, there's no big fallout, but to like release someone on a positive note, like end things on a positive note. It doesn't have to be such a well worded the way I did it, but like, you know, some people, they just ghost, right? Which we'll talk about that in a minute. But like, it can never just, a narcissist just cannot end the relationship like on a good note. It has to be some big explosion of a drama and how it's your fault and never theirs, and they want to fight with it, and to the point where you're like, okay, I gotta go. No, right? And so I'm at the point where like I could end the relationship on a positive note, only because I feel like they've like found out about me knowing about them, right? If they only knew, right? They only freaking knew. But on a brighter note, it's like I can't help but to feel like I went from somebody that was like in their orbit, and then I got so close to the sun that I was like, oh, now I see what's going on. And it's almost like they're like, okay, you're too close to the sun now, so I'm gonna put you in like the little friend department over here. It's kind of like what it seemed like. And so I can see things from a different perspective, right? And it all started to make sense. And the reason I know that is because remember when I talked about like, hey, I feel like there's like this wall up. I feel like you're not being forthcoming as much, right? Now it's gotten to the place where like we're hanging out more. I'm basically like behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz. I can kind of see some of the things back there. There's phone calls being made and conversations and talking for a little bit longer, and sitting in a car or sitting at a park or sitting at a restaurant or club and actually talking, and the conversation not be so superficial. And it's like, oh, okay, peeling back those layers. Now I can see what's going on here. Now we're getting somewhere, like in the sense of a friendship or relationship, whatever the case may be. Like I'm starting to see this person for who they really are, right? Not the facade that I always tell people, that when you meet someone for the first time, a lot of people, they put up a facade and they want to make it seem like they're so rich and they're just so expensive and they're just so grandiose, right? But then when you really get to know them, you get to see, oh, okay, that's just a front. But you understand that it's a front because this is how people are. Some people, not all. And some people are just very forthcoming and they're just real about it, right? But they put up a front because they don't want to let people in so easily, you know. And I can relate to that too. I mean, there's stuff that I've done in my past where I don't want to let people into my life easily. So there's like, I put up these barriers so that they know like not to cross them. And like maybe it could be a barrier like, oh, yeah, we can hang out. Here's my assistant's number. You know, you're setting up a barrier. It sounds shady, but I believe, and people tell me all the time, Rich, you have to set boundaries with people. You don't ever set boundaries. But then when you do set a boundary, you're a bitch or a diva. It's like, girl, whatever. Make up your mind, okay? I don't care. So I think that this case, I'm just like shook by it. I'm shook by it because I can't believe that there are people who are walking in this earth who just cannot admit to themselves that they're not perfect, that they do have flaws, that their actions do hurt people, and it mind blows that they don't see it that way, you know, because I see it that way. Like, and it's the constant of like flipping the script where like they'll do something that makes you angry and then they get mad at you for being angry. You know what I'm talking about? If you know what I'm talking about, drop a number 7 in the chat. Just type number 7. And if you made it this far in the video, extra points for leaving a second comment, not in the same comment, but a second comment with the heart emoji. Okay. And so like I've been through like the ups and downs of a narcissistic relationship, a friendship even. Like I've been through like ups and downs of it. I'm like, oh, okay, now I see it. And especially because like I don't ever deal with drama unless it's like internet drama. You know, like personal life drama, I don't really necessarily get involved with it. I'm very vanilla, like in the world when it comes to like friendships. Everything's very because of like what I do for a living and YouTube, and like I do a lot of the stuff behind the scenes myself. Not all of it, but some. I've become very everything's very transactional, right? And so they're like very business-like on a personal level. And so I think that the narcissist, this specific narcissist that I'm calling out, I think that they might have found out like, okay, so Rich is very well known, more well known than me. Rich is very wealthy, more wealthy than me. And so like this person can't like they can't tackle me down or belittle me because I'm a very confident person. But I can see how it can happen to somebody who's like not, you know? And that's a scary part. And I think that all narcissists have some level or type of addiction, whether it be drugs or alcohol, which alcohol is a drug, or substance abuse, or whatever the case may be. Like there's always like something there. I've noticed that too. But as for like going through it, I can see the ups and flows. But I will say this, in order for you to win over a narcissist or a narcissistic personality or an avoidant, if we were talking about avoidant behaviors, or a guy or a girl that you really like, I always revert back to this power that I have right here. It's called, is it the law? It's called the law. Hold on. I have it right here. It's called Law 36. So here it goes.
Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. Judgment. By acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence and credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him. And a small mistake is often made worse and more visible when you try to fix it. It is sometimes best to leave things alone. If there is something you want but cannot have, show contempt for it. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. Keys to power. Desire often creates paradoxical effects. The more you want something, the more you chase after it, the more it eludes you. The more interest you show, the more you repel the object of your desire. This is because your interest is too strong. It makes people awkward, even fearful. Uncontrollable desire makes you seem weak, unworthy, pathetic.
And so for those people who are dealing with, let's say, an avoidant personality trait, and they are anxious personality trait, which to even touch on this topic, you would have already referred back to lesson 44, chapter 8, whatever. I'm just joking. But for you to understand what I'm talking about, you have to understand that there's relationship statuses, like, which is like avoidance, anxious, stuff like that, right? And so the avoidant and anxious, it's like this tug of war, like this push and pull, because the anxious is like wanting attention and the avoidant is like running away from it. But then when the avoidant doesn't get the attention, they kind of revert back to the anxious person. So it's kind of like back and forth, right? And so I felt like that law 36, I believe, is so true. Like if you want something, like, and what you're doing is not working, then just let go and let God, and it'll come. I always say, what's meant for you will come to you. Like what's meant for you will be with you. That type of vibe. So I just want to put that out there, and that's something I've noticed. I just want to I honestly just want to make this video for anyone else who is dealing with a narcissistic personality trait or person, or even an avoidant in some way. But don't put them together because they're two different things. But they can commingle in some weird way. But honestly, it all just stems from childhood trauma, things that they don't want to acknowledge. It comes from like past behaviors. And one thing I've also noticed is just that my situation was like a person wasn't a family member. It wasn't a husband or a wife or a brother or sister or a mother or father or uncle or aunt. Like that's the worst. To actually live with them, it's like you're walking on eggshells. You know what I'm talking about? You just never know when they're gonna get upset about it. And I've noticed that like narcissistic people, they're very weak. Like if I was a wizard, right, literally, and I would be like a wizard with like 99 hit points. That was my level. I'd be like 100, level 100 wizard. I know all the spells, okay? But like narcissistic people, like they look like they know all the spells, but they're so weak. They're like level 5, like level 2. They're like Pokemon. All they know is scratch and growl. You know what I'm saying? Like this petty. And so narcissistic people, I feel like just very insecure, like deep down, very insecure about themselves, and they try to put up this front that they can do things on their own. They don't need things, and ultimately they're just very weak people that just have some type of veneer over them to make it seem like they aren't. Like they need that other person to feed off of because they're like very just weak and meek at heart, you know? Like one hit, one spell, and that poof, they're gone. But my advice to be like, if you're trying to exit a narcissistic friendship relationship, one way is you can do what they call gray walking or gray rocking, or they call it also firewalling. Is you just like, you don't give in, you don't text them as much, and if they do text you or call you, keep it very short. You don't over explain, you don't argue. You just keep things very simple and very short, not too much. Don't give it too much energy. And then they'll get bored and move on to somebody else. They're like, this person, like that. That's one way of doing it. Another way is just move away. Like total silence, step away, get out of there, no response, block, you're out of there, right? Whatever. And then the third way, this is my opinions about it, would be to end it on a good note, which can be kind of hard if you're not in that position where you can. But try to like do something where everything's like on a good emotional level, and then you could just be like, hey, you know what? I've just been doing some self-reflecting. I need to do this for my mental health. I need to set boundaries, and I wish you the best, but I need to go away. It's not you. It's, you know, and just step away. And that's like another way you can do that. I think that's the thing. But most importantly is take care of yourself. Put yourself first, right? And especially like, I don't know, like I can see how people can get caught up in somebody who's narcissistic, especially in the beginning with the love bombing and things like that. But for me, the red flags, if I were to summarize it in this long video, it was lack of communication. It was the feeling that there was like a wall up, the just texting only. And then when we see each other in person, it's just kind of like aloof, and a lot of attention in the beginning, and you can just kind of see, there's no sadder feeling, which there is, but I'm just being dramatic, but there's no sadder feeling of like liking somebody, and then you can kind of feel that they're being distant and pulling away, and there's somebody else like involved. You don't know, you know, maybe you'll find out later or something like that. But it's like you really like somebody, and then like you notice they're not texting you as fast, and then you're like, what's going on? I don't understand why we're not communicating as much. And then boom, they start texting you a lot again, and they go silent for days. You know, it's like that. It's like the ups and downs. It's like so annoying, right? And that's when you need to like choose yourself first. But some people, you may be watching this and you just have like low self-esteem. You're not loving yourself. Like let's say and I've seen so many people do this that I know in my life. Like they will literally spend money on a partner, but when they should be spending that on themselves. Why are you, let's say for example, paying money to get a classic example, this person's teeth cleaned when you haven't even got your teeth cleaned first? You know, like if you have to love yourself first, because how are you gonna love anybody else? And that's so true. And RuPaul said that. If you don't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love anybody else? It's like tried and true. But I also want to add this to the mix of that. And it's the feeling of when you're a healed person, right? Like if you've been watching me for a long time, like, you know, have been through growing up, verbal abuse, molestation, physical abuse, bullying, harassment, just growing up, right? This journey of life. As I got older, I became a healed person. What I've noticed is that when you're a healed person, you can start noticing this person has narcissistic tendencies. This person has daddy issues. This person has abandonment issues. This person has substance abuse issues. You can see that when you're a healed person. They can't see that. They can't, but I can, because you're a healed person. And you only really want to be around other healed people, right? And what sucks about it is that there's not that many healed people. So you're kind of just left like solo dolo sometimes, and you're just kind of like, damn, you know? So I can understand how people would entertain toxic traits and stuff like that, or someone who is giving them the ups and flows of a roller coaster of emotion and stuff like that, because it's like, it's exciting, but at the same time, which it can be, but it gets boring, and you're like, okay, I want off this ride. I'm next bored. But you can do that when you're a healed person, right? When you're not healed and you get sucked into that, because you don't even know that you're on it, you know? So I just want to leave you guys. I hope somebody somewhere found this video interesting. They can get help out of it. I really do appreciate it. It will mean so much if you guys leave a like. If you found value in this content, please leave a like. And like, this was a totally different type of video, because I usually keep it superficial. We talk about Kardashians, Paris Hilton, like, you know, stuff like that. Britney Spears, like, we keep it superficial. But like, I wanted to just bring it back down to earth and just say like, we can get deep, you know? We can get deep over here if we want to. But with that being said, sometimes I've just realized in life that instead of crying over stuff, let me just laugh at it. It's just easier for me to just laugh at something than cry about it. That's, you know, a coping mechanism, you know? So think about that. I just want to wish you guys much love and please leave your stories in the comments down below. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say about situations that you're in. Please don't leave any names, try to be respectful. To just, you know, if you want to vent, talk about it in the comments down below, and other people in the comments, read other people's comments and chime in with your opinions. I would really like to drive conversation down here in the comments. It will mean so much to me. And I want to say I love you guys. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe, share this video. I appreciate that so much. And this is a video that collectively I've been wanting to put together and piecing together for like maybe over a year. So if someone's out there watching this video and they think that it's about them, I assure you it is not. This is something that I've picked and pieced together from a lot of different relationships, friendships, co-workers, and just people in general, and also videos on YouTube and TikTok that I've just kind of like this melting pot of a vibe, right? And I just wanted to put that out there. Some stuff that I just been learning recently, because, you know, I love communication. I was a communication major in college because I wanted to be a news reporter in the beginning, but then I found out like when you're a news reporter, you can't really be out at the club dipping it and doing it, because if something goes down at the club and your name gets in there, you're gonna lose your job, right? You keep it very professional when you're a news reporter. So I didn't want to do that. Then I wanted to go to dental school, want to be a dentist, and like teeth, like drilling the teeth on myself scare me. I can do it on somebody else, right? But then I just parlayed my way in life and was like, found my passion with journalism and news through making these videos, these drama videos of celebrities and gossip and things I find interesting. And so I was like, oh, I was able to honestly take my love and do it for a living. And I want to thank you guys for that, because it means a lot to me. Let me see. Okay, this was meant to be like an 8-minute video. I don't know how the hell we get 34 minutes. Okay, let me let you guys go. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys later. Mwah.